texted him, see if he responds.
That's weird.
Okay, let me call to order the regular meeting of the Charter Revision Commission for July 9th, 2025. Welcome, everybody. May we have a roll call?
Brown. Cochran.
Here.
Hoganson.
Here.
Knopfschneider. Metz. Here. Neal. Paholka.
Here.
Weaver.
Okay. Our next item is to approve the agenda. Do we have anything that needs to be added or amended? Hearing none, let's have a voice vote for approval of the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Communications, farmer's market update. I put this on in case you want to have this conversation. I don't know where we're at in terms of whether or not we want to continue to have a presence there. I know some of us are signed up for a while, but what is your feeling about it?
Ann's gonna do the first Saturday, gonna do Saturday and see if that makes any difference, but I don't see any reason to go on Friday anymore. It's just, no engagement.
I'm guessing you're seeing a lot of the same people
Yeah.
too.
That's the other problem. I don't remember faces, so I'm talking to the same people over and over again from week to week and hour to hour. I'm that bad.
I would be the same.
So I don't know. I do have people coming over to say hi to me now though, because they think I'm so lonely and sad.
Star himself.
Nice.
See how Saturday
can't-
goes, and I'll
was
report
Metallica that
back
you
by
saw?
email and
I can't believe they didn't
form a
recruit you.
decision.
I was far from stage.
We're talking about our plan for continuing with farmer's market.
If you think Saturday goes well, let me know and I will sign up for more. I haven't yet because
Sorry, thank you.
I can talk to a brick wall and with me, so.
And what Saturday were you talking about?
This coming Saturday, the
12th?
12th?
Send it,
You're still gonna do it Saturday then? Okay.
I'll let Ellen know.
So right now we have, Anna's going to do Saturday the 12th. Jim, you're on the schedule for Friday the 18th. You still good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay, let's see how that goes and let us know. And we will take it from there. Okay, very good. Committee reports. As you remember, Stacy and Foster and I were the little subcommittee on the purchasing language for section 8.10, and I think it was 8.11 actually is the emergency purchasing. We met about a week or so ago. We drafted something which we ran by Mark Gifford, city manager, and Heather Bowman, our director of public works, and Carla Staffen, our treasurer, and Brittany Douglas, who is the deputy treasurer. And the two ladies sent us back feedback, and we incorporated that. We just had a meeting with them this afternoon, and they think it's good to go. However, we want to have you folks look at it. And then, of course, we still need to get our legal consultants' eyeballs on it. So we don't have copies of that. It's up on the board, okay. Just to recap, you remember pursuant to our conversation with all the department heads a while back, the idea was for us to remove the hard dollar amounts from the charter and have them incorporated into an ordinance, a purchasing ordinance. So that's kind of the basis for all of this, and then rather than we still wanted to have some guardrails in the charter language. So rather than putting a hard cap amount in, what we came up with was that they would establish an ordinance which would be reviewed and approved annually by the city commission at the time that they are approving the budget. And what we suggested was that the purchases made by department heads would not exceed 0.25% of the budgeted operational expenses of the general fund in that given fiscal year. Like, for example, this year, that would amount to about $33,000. The next paragraph, purchases exceeding the ordained limit require formal approval by the city manager or the city commission. And what Stacy explained was that this is for all purchases requiring bids, so a purchase could go to either the manager or the commission, depending on the circumstances. So again, the second thing that we attended to here then was trying to not tie the department heads to having to wait for a commission meeting to get approval for everything over a certain amount of money, okay? So you can read this for yourself, but we put in some guardrails around when the city manager has the authority to go ahead and approve things, or what conditions there may be to his having to report to the city commission. What you see in the boldface is the new language that we're proposing. The regular face, typeface, is what is already current in the document. They were good with all of that. The question of the feasibility, for example, at the bottom of the page where it says we're obtaining competitive bids is not feasible. What we were thinking, of course, was what they call sole source bidding. If they only have one company that is available to bid for their materials, or if there's only one company that ever does bid on a particular kind of request. But we're going to check with Mr. Reddick to see if he can suggest a term that may be a little more, not quite so squishy. Okay. On the next page.
Moving to the next page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just zipping through it like zippity-doo down here. Okay. This is kind of an important paragraph as well. The ordinance shall also provide the monetary limit within which purchases may be made and contracts for services entered into by the city manager in accordance with the approved budget without the necessity of commission approval, not to exceed 0.75% of the original budgeted operational expenses of the general fund in the given fiscal year. Now, what we're saying basically is, it's rather than putting a dollar amount hard cap in there, this gives the commission, they can go up to 0.25% or 0.5 or 0.75%. But if they choose not to go that high, they can adjust that down. And so however this financial situation is in any given fiscal year, they have some flexibility to adapt that. Make sense, everybody?
And as of right now, the 0.75% is about $99,000.
So, to clarify, previously, everything over $7,500, the commission had to approve. Our changes, the city manager would be the one approving up to basically $100,000 in today's money. Of course, the commission can choose to make that a lot lower, right? We're allowing the commission to give the city manager up to $100,000 of leeway, but the commission could be like, no, we're only going to give the city manager $10,000, right? So it's up to the commission ultimately to determine how much of the $100,000 limit that we've set the city manager can spend without their vote. The city manager still has to go back before the commission and say, I approved the purchase of a fire truck for $70,000. So you guys know that this is how I did it, this is where the money went, this is where it came from. Our thinking was that.
Inexpensive fire truck.
I was just gonna say,
I know, yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
Truck on fire.
Yeah. But so,
Is there verbiage in here that he or she, whoever the city manager is to give a report to the commission, like at the next commission meeting?
pretty sure there is.
Okay.
That may not be in this
Well, that-
section, that may be.
Particularly under, the emergency
Managers.
purchasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this again, we switched that over to the manager
see it now,
from
I'm
the
sorry.
commission. But put some parameters on that, you know, he needs to define the emergency, state the anticipated term, not to exceed hundred and 20 days. Obtain a formal request from the appropriate department head citing the need, the scope of the emergency, the cost, proof of sufficient budgetary funds, and a timeline for how and when the funds will be used, and report the suspension to the city commission at their next meeting. So we have managed to shift a little more onto the city manager, but city commission still retains their oversight responsibilities, and they have the power to set the amount as they see fit. So I think we addressed the concerns that had been expressed to us at that meeting, however long ago that was.
Without just giving the city like all the power, to just be like, yep, just go ahead and make an ordinance however you want.
Yeah. Any questions on that?
I think it's good work. I think it's a really elegant solution to tie it to a percentage of the general fund.
Well,
We like that.
I'll tell you, we kind of misread the budget at first, and we were suggesting 1%.
I know, we were loving that for some.
So-
All right.
And somewhere in the
Where
room,
am I gonna get rid of this?
Stephen's eyeballs were going, what?
About killed Carla, but
She says, like, I'm not liking these numbers.
it was funny.
I think, oh, we forgot that decimal point. But in any case, if you want any more time to look over this, or if you're okay with this, then what we will do next step is to ship this out to Ron Reddick and ask him to, and he may wordsmith it for legal. My understanding from the lawyers I talked to in the last year is that the profession is actually moving toward plain speak, away from legalese stuff. So he may have some suggestions on how to simplify the language a little bit. But in any case, we will get his feedback. And then once we do, if we're all good to go, we will put this little baby to rest.
I'm thinking that once we hear from Ron, that we can share it via email so that everyone can review it on their
Oh,
own
yeah,
time.
absolutely,
And then we can
absolutely, yeah.
vote to confirm it.
Totally. Okay. No other questions on that part? Good, old business. You guys, I believe, had asked me to propose some language to mirror what I was suggesting for chapter 6 regarding the annual review of the city manager. And I offer you this here for your consideration and feedback. Effectively, this, the city, under the responsibilities and duties of the city manager, shall be to participate fully in an annual review of their job performance as directed by the city commission in accordance with chapter 6, section 6.9, or whatever we number it.
Chapter 3, Sarah, where you see the original.
This isn't in the charter right now.
Okay, so where would we want to put it?
The full one we want to put in chapter 6, which I believe is city commission responsibilities. 6.9, thereabouts,
That was the review we talked about last week,
yeah.
last meeting, sorry.
I was suggesting making it 6.9 and then moving investigations to 6.10. That text didn't get it in, we didn't get into it last time, did we? It's from our minutes from last meeting. We don't have minutes for tonight.
No, I did not have time to read them completely and get them to you.
Well, I'm good with
Does that require?
One question, should it be something like the responsibilities and duties of the city manager shall include, because in the bigger picture, the city manager has a lot more responsibilities and duties beyond just participating in a review of work performance.
Well, yeah, you know, he has, a lot of duties.
Oh, so this is gonna appear at the end of the section that.
In chapter 3,
Into,
Got it.
yeah.
in chapter 3, section 3.8, the whole section, or 3.9, I beg your pardon. Responsibilities, this is the stem,
Yeah,
and then it's A, B, C, D,
it's,
and it goes down to J. So I'm adding another letter in there, I'm sure he's gonna be
Basically
thrilled.
just- we're putting something in later, and so we're pointing to that later
Got it.
thing in the appropriate section, so that like they both.
Right,
Makes good sense.
does that answer your question? Okay, anyone else have any questions on that?
So you making that 3.9K or something? That sentence? Or doing participate in full annual review, sentence that you have there, is that where you're
Yeah.
taking the point? Okay. Right. No problem with that.
Okay. Very good. Okay, very good. Next item under old business is that I wanted to have an opportunity for us to talk about these comments that were shared with us by one of the members of the planning commission, Mr. Majkowski. I'm not sure how you pronounce
I'm
it.
not sure how to say it either.
Sam, we'll call him Sam. Very kindly, he listened to one of our meeting last time, and he sent this email to our email account, and and I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but effectively, I think what he's suggesting is keep it short and simple. Big poster board, like what you were talking about, term limits, yes, no.
Right, right.
You know. So I just wanted to know how you all feel about that. I guess my difficulty with this is, as it always is, that these issues are not as simple as yes, no. Fortunately, there's a lot of context that needs to be provided. Number one, do people realize we have term limits already? And if they don't know what they are. So, you know, there's that piece of information that needs to be provided. But the whole, and I'll just say this from my experience dealing with the term limit issue from years ago, as you know. The context needs to include, you know, why, you know, when people hear the phrase term limits, they go to the number of years. And one of our arguments for keeping a goodly number of years for someone to be able to serve is because of the reality that government work has a learning curve. And there's a lot to learn over the course of one term, which you then want someone to be able to apply appropriately in the next term or the next term. So the idea is to have cultivated a knowledgeable collection of people who are serving in city government. That's a lot of words. That's a lot of words and a complex concept to try and, you know, hit somebody with just a poster board.
It's a lot of words to
Go ahead, Ann.
deliver to somebody as a soliloquy, right?
Yeah.
But what I think Sam is getting at here is there may be an entree to that conversation that's more simple and that is structured more like call and response with the person you're engaging. So you ask them kind of a garbage in, garbage out type question, right? And then follow that up with you know, an observation that's about existing term limits or something like that. And then just have it be protocol that you then follow up with another question. So it's more give and take and less talk at, which I think is sort of the spirit of this approach, and probably is something that we can take and learn from a little bit. We tend to have a pretty detailed knowledge of this document and of the issues related to it, and not everyone has that, and not everyone wants that, but they may want to engage on a more on a less detailed level. So maybe that's something we could take from it. The only thing I would note specifically about the big box stores is it's very difficult to determine whether or not we're having contact with city residents. So I would be more inclined to say splash pad, farmer's market, library, other local businesses that we know are not so frequently used by people who live outside of city limits.
Most big box stores don't let you.
Oh, they don't?
No, the sign that says no solicitation,
Yes,
it's on their door.
Yeah.
You can't sell, you can't talk, you can't set up a table, no. And like, good luck even finding the person that would let you. So it's like, you
Yeah,
can't.
they don't wanna get in any legal issues.
And they don't want to be seen as taking a side or anything. So the only way that we're gonna get like into Walmart or Meijer or something is if we open a kiosk and pay them money. Yeah.
Park your car with the stickers on it, you know, with the information on the side of your car. It'll be done.
Have like this funny mailbox on the side of your car that people can take one.
Rent an ice cream truck. Rent an ice cream truck, and when people come up to the window, they have
Fill out
to
a survey for ice cream.
complete a survey.
I don't think they would let an ice cream truck in their parking lot. They would definitely kick an ice cream truck out.
Yep.
I'm guessing that like the fireworks stands, like pay them money to set up in their parking lot.
Sure they have to.
And like, that's probably the one thing that like they allow. Because I mean, like Walmart and Meijer sell fireworks too. Why would they like undercut their business? But yeah.
I think another avenue that we haven't really explored on this, thinking about all the challenges that we're talking about this, it seems to be that a big part of the problem is we're trying to engage people who maybe really don't want to be engaged on this. And it's unlikely that us and our stack of surveys, no matter how personable it
Well,
is,
that's what I'm looking for.
it may not make that much of a difference to them. Maybe the way to go about this, there are strategies in communications and marketing where if you can't reach the people directly, you reach people who influence them. So maybe we start looking at strategies of people we can connect with who have influence or authority over other groups of people who are in a position to kind of spread the word and plant the seed to think about this.
It's a good idea. I mean, I think that what I'm perceiving in part is that we're a volunteer board, and it's one thing to volunteer to work on the charter, and it's something else to volunteer to then do marketing campaign for the charter, which it's like, it's what we all signed up for. But at the same time, like, there are people, as Ann well knows, that are paid a full-time wage to do marketing campaigns and engage with the public. And it's I feel like a really tall order for us as volunteers to try to do that scale of work when we're up against the fact that people don't want to engage on this subject.
Well, part of our responsibilities are, I see it less as marketing and more as education, but they kind of necessarily take a little bit of the same.
You gotta package it.
And I would just say that, you know, if this may be a work smarter, not harder thing, if there are 10 people about town we can connect with
Yeah.
who would sort of be ambassadors or champions for this process and who are willing to kind of, in their interactions with folks at their businesses, on the
I mean,
groups they control, et cetera, to get them, engaged in conversation or thought about it. That might go a long way.
I don't know that this is necessarily the right answer, but somebody like Fred Gunther, right? It's like if the mayor is out there saying, hey, these people have been working on this charter, it's really good, I really want you guys to, check it out, but if you don't wanna check it out, I would vote for it, or, whatever. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, if he benefits from it, and he's telling people to vote yes, but by the same token, it's like, we're citizens of the city of Big Rapids doing this for the benefit of the city of Big Rapids, and we need people that have like you're saying, that have that public engagement, public face that people trust, basically.
I was thinking less about
But-
city officers.
I mean, I get that,
More like,
but I don't think that like Pat Curry is gonna go into
Carly
the
Drove.
weeds with his
no.
with his customers
That's what-
pumping gas
yeah.
on,
And-
this is why you should vote for the charter.
Nor do I think they need to.
Yeah.
This would just be somebody who other people hold in some regard and therefore, maybe will do as they are doing and take an interest or inform themselves a little bit
Or
about
just,
it.
I mean, I think even if just see our work in a positive light, right? Like, it's not that they're going to vote for it, but that like they are more inclined, if they're not gonna do any research, right? And they're gonna flip a coin, we want the odds to favor us that it lands heads.
Hey, do you guys listen to Chris Jane's podcast that he has now? It's starting to get more, people are listening to it more. And I know the mayor was on it not too long ago. It was really good conversation, and it was a lot of education about the city and things that are going on. And we got a lot of feedback on that interview, or conversation. I hate to say interview, but
episode.
I don't know. Maybe that's worth the conversation. I can't remember his partner's name, but.
Thought about asking him, if we could get a spot on there.
Right. Yeah, they do a nice job.
I think that's a great idea. I didn't know there was a podcast.
Yeah, I wish I could, I don't know if you know Brandy Brooks, it's her husband, and I apologize if I can't remember his first name, but yeah, it's the two of them.
I think we talked last time about Carlene's morning show too, a little bit.
I mean, I have talked about the charter on Carlene's show a few times. Which is helpful, it reaches a good audience, but. Yeah,
Or just a different subset. I mean,
Even if you don't go in, I mean, she is a good advocate for the community and the city too, and she does the research and she's involved. So even in conversation, people do listen to what she says. I think she's respected in the community. It's not a bad idea, get some people like that.
If we want to work a little bit, sort of shape that ask and maybe come up with 2 or 3 tangible things those people can do. I'm connected to most of them. I could reach out and ask. I'd be happy to do so. I want to kind of come up with a list of people we think are ideal sort of people about town. Just Chris and Carlene, maybe Pat, to share.
Tyler Schuberg.
Yes, very good one.
do you feel like you'd like to just kind of spearhead that?
Yeah, I can do that.
for us? Ryan, did you ever try your poster board with the quiz?
Not yet, I haven't built it yet.
Okay.
I will have it built here.
No, just because it kind of occurs to me that it's, what you were suggesting is very similar, I think, to what Sam is suggesting here. I'm wondering, I don't know if it makes sense to have the booth in the farmer's market as opposed to like where the Democrats have their table on at the sidewalk. I guess, my feeling is when people are coming into the market,
Some stuff.
they want to get goodies. They don't want to get banged over the head with government stuff, but having a table at the sidewalk maybe, as they're coming in, maybe, I don't know if that would make
They're
a
gonna
difference
blow
or
right
not.
past you, to be honest. I think they're gonna blow right past you.
They blow right past us at the
Past us anyway.
But at least there's like,
We have a
next to you,
home,
there's a box of tomatoes that
see, I keep
to
hoping.
kind of slow them down.
I know, I guess I agree with what you're saying, maybe we try something different, because this is not, we're not the most popular booth at the market. In fact, we're probably the least.
I was hoping because we're tucked in between
The
two,
bakery.
the bakery, who's gotten very popular, and the coffee tea guy on the other side. Like, while you're having your bakery and your tea, come and visit.
Yeah.
Come and visit us. Maybe we need to put some chairs out. I don't know.
Have a circle behind our table.
Why not? Anyway,
Or like some like fans, maybe if we had some, can we hire some
Cooling
people?
station.
Can we hire some people to like wave some big leaves to cool people? I think that would really attract people.
like they did in the Arabian Nights, you're standing there.
That's,
And grapes.
Palm from
yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a thought.
The city does have a table at the farmer's market and they sell books for the library and stuff. Maybe a shorter version of something that they can tuck in. They get a lot of people who stop there. I don't know. It doesn't have to be the full charter, but maybe just some snippets.
The bookmarks.
Pocket charter, as it were.
Table. Bookmarks at the table of books.
That would make a,
Those.
I mean, something, right? I forgot about that. You're right.
I do hand out a lot of bookmarks and people do take them.
That's good.
Are they,
That's good.
it's got the QR, are they
Right.
doing it? Are they going to the next step?
I don't follow up, but yeah, I ask them
don't follow
to.
them
I
home.
don't follow them home.
Not
I do
had
ask them.
a up to conserve air response.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Maybe it's a half page, whatever, something, quarter page of something, just, I don't know.
Go get
just
some
brainstorming.
books.
But
So
I don't know how you reach them.
you're gonna kind of flesh this out for us, develop a little plan. Let's see if we can come up with some more names. How many names do you think we should try to be?
Five off the top of my head at one time.
Okay.
I probably will think of a couple more conversation and thinking about
Okay, sounds
it. If
good.
anybody's got something.
And then we need to come up with an approach. Ask. Ask.
Ask in an elevator speech that they.
Ask in an elevator speech, okay. All right. Anything else that you would like to ask on that?
Can I add one thing to your old business? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Let me just finish one thing here. Regarding, how long we're going to keep this open vis-à-vis the surveys or public input before we start
we need now.
getting down on it, because I said we have 7 months to get this thing in shape, to get shipped over to the Attorney General's office. So I guess what I'm thinking is, I'd like to see what we can do, at least through the summer, and really assess that hard at the end of August. We can try some of these other things and see how that's working. And also be thinking about other ways that we might get public input on that.
You talked about kind of focus groups or something with a little bit more appeal, like offer of refreshments, something like that, sort of get people in. And this was more for the education, like final phase, but maybe we should think about moving some of those resources up so that we can apply them to getting more input.
Makes sense to me.
Actually, we should ask our first ever visitor, welcome. If I can ask, what prompted you to come this evening?
Well, my name's April Lemke. I live on 1107 Rose in the corner of Fremont. And I've been here since August of 2019. We bought a house for our son to go to Ferris. And he graduated and I decided to stay here. So that I've been approached by Michelle and Fred at the time. I went to all of the other meetings before and I'm on the zoning board now. And so I just want to know more about city government and just see how all the meetings all interact with one another and how they all kind of mesh. So this is my first one coming here. I just want to know more about what the charter does and how you make decisions based on other meetings. So that's what I am here to do, just to see or be part. If I can do more than one board, like I don't know that. Like I can be on, like if it's just on zoning or can I be other places? Like I don't know that either. So
Okay.
yeah. So I just want to know what you guys all do and things like that. So yes.
So maybe a little more highly engaged than our average bear. But welcome.
You found out about the meeting through the city newsletter?
Yes, the newsletter. Yes.
So that's good to know.
Yes.
Just so that you know,
Yeah.
we are a special commission.
Okay.
We have a 3-year charge, and we're done.
Okay.
What we are elected to, this is the city charter, which is kind of like our constitution.
Okay.
It's our legal framework for how the city government functions.
Okay.
And the conventional wisdom is to review and revise it every 10 years.
Oh, okay.
We are at 12 years from this document, and
Okay.
we were, our city commission passed a resolution approving the review so that we could get going on this. And we have 3 years in which to finish the work, which then, once we present the revised document, it has to go on the ballot in November 26th for the people to vote on.
So we're not technically a city board.
So we're not technically a city board.
Okay.
We are
Separate.
a separate entity that is, I guess technically a state entity, working to provide the rules, guidelines, in which public servants, city government servants must,
I would say that most people that I've interacted with about the charter they think the charter is more like the city ordinances.
Yes.
And that's like this point of like confusion.
Rules for
It's like,
people, not rules
I get
for-
confused with it pretty easily because it's just not a very friendly document. But generally, I would say it doesn't really say like, it doesn't say like, oh, you can only have a dog in this neighborhood from, outside from this hour to that hour. It's more like the city government may pass legislation about who can have dogs outside, right? So we don't tell the city what they can and can't do. We grant the power to the various city officials to make decisions.
Online to find for people or?
It is.
Yes. Yeah, we have a website.
Okay.
Um,
I haven't gone that far yet, just.
No, that's fine. No, we have a website, and the
Can you bring it
charter.
up, Stacy?
The current charter is one of the links. You can look through it.
Okay.
We also have a revision document. You could see what changes we have been recommending
Okay.
or so forth.
Gotcha.
The thing of it is, there are, and I'll just say there's two parts to this.
Okay.
One is there are certain state laws that we have to conform with.
Gotcha.
But the other part of the document is meant to reflect the values of the city, what kind of governance we
And
want.
that'll be good for 10 years then after the Attorney General.
After it's voted in by the
Okay.
people,
It's in effect in perpetuity until it's revised.
until it's revised, right?
So
Before this one, it was over 20 years. They hadn't reviewed it. So that's the function of the document. And I'll tell you, we have, this is a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of government.
Okay.
So we've all learned a lot, more than we want to know sometimes, but it's all been very good. So, yeah, and I encourage you to take a look at it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us.
Our website is actually just part of the city's website.
Okay.
So if you went to the city's website, you
Okay.
might have to click around, but eventually you
Sure.
find us.
Okay.
Stacy
Just
brought
go to
it up.
boards and commissions.
Okay.
Charter is fourth one down. give it a click.
And there's like she said, there's a link.
Yeah, there's a direct link. It's cityofbr.org/CRC or Charter Revision Commission. And that gets you directly to this page.
Okay.
And on that page, there's a link that has the revised charter as we're working on it, that you can read what changes we've made and to the original document.
And there's also the survey in case you're interested in filling that out for us.
I will go do that, yes.
Thank you.
A seat available on the board.
That's I will do that, I will go. I just haven't had time since Monday, so yes, I will do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did somebody just walk in the front door?
There's someone leaving.
Thank you for serving on the zoning and planning, and you picked a really
Thank
good time now that they're redoing all the zoning ordinances.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all are aware
Yeah,
that
interesting.
our master plan just won the 2025 Association of Planners Award.
So that, I didn't read the whole
Our
article,
new
I saw
master
the headline.
Which is like, again, like a 10-year thing.
Right,
And now they're in the process of redoing all the zoning ordinances to.
yeah,
bring
and it's
it
an
up to
audit,
date. So
yes.
you picked a good time to join.
I'm fine, I don't know.
That's right, it's nice
Thank
that
you.
it's starting to get,
Pardon me?
I said the city does a lot of things right, really
Yes, it
effectively. It's good to see them starting to get recognition.
Well, that was a real example of the collaboration of multiple entities working on that thing. Because that's a huge job, doing a master plan. And I just, congratulations to all of them. They had a wonderful consulting company who guided them through that, and they did, I think, a really good job of getting public input and all that great stuff, so, yeah. Good, okay. Anything else, any more on that?
As far as the timeline for capturing input, were we trying to proceed toward an actual date? Or are we just trying to raise awareness that we've got 7 months, or what's the objective there?
I guess, we still need to go through the document that Mr. Reddick gave us with that first go-around with his notes and his changes and so forth. So we can be making forward progress with the other things that we need to revisit while we are still trying to figure out how we want to approach and do that. But I'm thinking early fall at the latest, we need to be actually making a decision whether or not we're going to pursue making any changes to term limits. Is that reasonable? Okay, very good. New business,
Since we advertised that we were gonna talk about term limits, can we talk about term limits?
Karen had something too under old business.
you did, I'm sorry, Karen.
I-
Moving right along.
No, I went through our board book, and I wondered, you guys probably thought why she randomly sent me that, but I just wanted you to see what boards we have, how many people, we need on the board, and how many we currently have. So, it's always presented like it's doom and gloom, and it really isn't.
No, this looks great.
So, I just wanted you guys to see that, because we've been working hard to make sure it's all updated, and I thought, dang, that looks pretty good, I'm gonna share that. Thank you. So, yeah,
That's very encouraging.
Knock on wood.
Very
I know,
encouraging.
exactly, Tapwood. And, that doesn't mean we're not interested in including more,
Yeah, it's been
whatever, but yeah.
my experience with the Parks Board that like, we get decent number of new members. Like Jim's already seen, he's a new member and we've already gotten a new member since Jim, is that right? We weren't at the last one, I think we just got a new member. Don't quote me on it because it's all like, I can't remember anything.
You
but,
did.
Yeah, you got me then. But yeah, the membership like is just a constant term. Some people get term limited out, some people move, even if they just move out of town. And so it's like any given moment, the boards can be full and somebody could put in an application or a statement of interest and a seat will open up.
Right, yeah, we hold on to them, and I certainly don't wanna discourage people from turning
Yeah.
something in. But I just wanted you guys to see, because that it,
What's the plan
this is
for the
great.
property maintenance appeal?
That's what I was gonna ask. Thank you for
we don't ever, that's as needed, and again, soon as I say it out loud, we'll need it, but it hasn't been needed. That and the Income Tax Appeals Board, those are two boards that, it's been years. So,
So if you've got a need, you would just rally the troops and put
Yes.
a board in place, kind of like us?
Yes.
Okay.
yes. But I don't wanna recruit people to it and have them sit with nothing to do, and then they,
I would totally be on that board.
Would you? Okay, well, I'm gonna start you on those. No? Be careful what you wish for. Amy, be careful.
ever.
Yeah, just look at my workshop and other things I've just started, sitting there.
Jim, you're on too.
What you wish to discuss?
Like I said, see, it was on the city newsletter.
Ah.
That's why our
think you
guests
guys have
showed up, so I thought it makes more sense to talk about that than,
Okay. Well, I think it's what kind of we just did.
I mean, we talked about boards.
Yeah. Well, effectively, what
I
we're,
think the term limits discussion is about really the mayor and the commission, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, what we're still contemplating. Currently, we have 3 terms done, no matter whether you are a commissioner or whether you are serving as the mayor. And again, I will just draw back on conversations from years ago, when we broached this in the first place, that the job function of the commissioners is different from that of the mayor. Did it make sense, therefore, to try and separate the terms allowed for commissioners versus the terms allowed for mayor? I think right now, our suggestion was 3 terms. It's keep the 3 terms for commissioners, but separate the mayor into 2 terms. And of course, someone from the commission can run for mayor and serve. They could do the 3 terms
So they could,
commissioner and then do
in reality, do
2
20
terms for mayor.
basically, in
Was that Jim?
service. They could basically do 20 years.
There is that possible scenario.
Yeah, 12 on the commission and then 8 mayor, you could easily do 20 years.
That's what frightened people the last time, from what I understand, was the big
The
number.
20.
Not understanding how
But,
Exactly so.
it works. And
correct me if I'm wrong, it's consecutive terms, right?
Yeah, like if you take a year.
So somebody could serve as a commissioner for 8 years, take a couple years off, and then serve as mayor for 12 years, and then take a couple years off, and then serve as commissioner for 12 years, and end up serving for 40 years. They wouldn't be consecutive years.
They
But
have to
like,
be elected.
They have to
I'm
be
stating this because to clarify for our guests that like, and just in general for our own discussion, that like,
That's the nuance.
consecutive is the important word, that people could serve 20 consecutive years. But the issue that we've ran into in the past with these positions is that most people who are interested in potentially becoming the mayor, right? Like there's just, people don't live that long, like, or have that much time, that by the time you've served 3 terms as a commissioner and you think, well, I'd have a shot at mayor, I could probably swing that. Like, it's a decent commitment of time and energy, and a lot of people don't have that. And so if you've only got this window of so long in your life where you might have that much time and energy and that you're well connected and you know what's going on, you take a couple years off and you're kind of like, maybe I don't really feel like doing that anymore, or I don't know what's going on. And I mean, I think that the question before us today is, I think that we are more or less in agreement on the 3 terms as a commissioner and 2 years, or 2 terms as a mayor.
I'd only point out that per the survey data that I shared last time, there's actually stronger support for a term limit of 2 terms for city commission as well as 2 terms for mayor. But there was strong support for separating
For the separation.
limits.
And-
Whether or not we wanted to take that public input, because remember, we were trying to make those questions general. So
Yes, it was hard.
for each situation, we said, how many terms, how many X number of year terms, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Broadest support is for 2 for city commissioners right now. That's not something that we brought up as a part of our review of this document, but it's something that's come up kind of organically based on that input. Now, because we wanted to streamline and simplify these questions for the survey as much as possible, I don't have that education component in there that says right now they can serve 3. So it may just be that people did not know. It just asks them, in an ideal world, how many terms should they be able to serve?
While we hope that the responses that we got are a good representation of the community, how many responses?
Like 30.
I
But
mean,
they're
that's
the-
like,
Yes, except they're the only input you have right now.
right, I know. I'm just saying, like, I'm not gonna bank too much
No.
into that
But
as,
at the same time, if we don't do a lot of direct input gathering other than this, or our other attempts, focus groups, et cetera, are not fruitful, that is our best source
Yeah.
of truth. And I think dismissing it out of hand
not dismissing it, I'm
puts
just,
us in opposition to our
not
mandate.
dismissing it, just saying, like, this is one thing that we can look at, but it's not like the only thing that we should look at making the consideration,
No, no.
right? And so, I mean, I ask you, like, you know, do you understand the situation as it is?
Yeah.
And what we're proposing? And do you have an opinion?
I think separating it is good. I think you need to sometimes have fresh ideas. I don't think sometimes having a person there long-term, can say like longer than that, I think sometimes you just need to change it up.
Yeah, I mean, they're
I truly believe
elected,
that.
so it's like,
I truly believe that, yeah,
Yeah.
and if the person, they can switch it up or whatever, or have a new person, I just think they should be switched up. I don't think it should be in there,
For a
that's why we have, presidents only 4 years, they're due for, in the same situation, it's like, I think, changing it, I think is a good thing.
The other thing we're struggling with is we don't have people running. That's why we're looking to extend
That
that.
was my other,
Yes.
yeah, it's like, it'd be one thing if people were
If
like.
we had fresh people coming in, yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
okay.
And I think
I have a
also,
question. Have you ever thought of doing, so I went down to the master plan when I was at the artworks downstairs in the basement, and that was a lot of people actually showed up to that. And you had a lot of the poster boards, you can write on or post notes how that company presented it several times, and we were at the police station and doing things, and, have you thought of doing that kind of interaction? They offered pizza, have you done that type of?
We
Event
haven't yet, but we
before?
have talked about that.
That's kind of what I'm saying when I say move some of our resources for education.
That was the first experience I went to learn and meet the mayor and meet other people. That was my first experience, just, other than doing my own things, my first time coming. That's how I got involved in staying and learning about all this, and I really enjoyed that day. I really did.
I think we
that's
do
valuable, thank you.
look at doing an event that gives.
Well, I was thinking about that very thing when they did it with the master plan.
Yeah, it was very,
And
it was very
that's a good
nice.
opportunity.
Because you
to
could
have,
take the
like,
post-it notes and
reserves or
put down
something.
like where you want to, like, it was a very non-committal for the interaction of the people, but yet it was very informative, I think, for the master plan company and then, that whole group. It was very, I really enjoyed it. I went to all of them to see where, because then they would regroup in the next meeting. They would then like summarize everything that got put on there, and then they're like, okay, is this still important to you? Is that, like, read it all again? It was great, I loved it. So.
It's a good interactive
And that might
thing.
be an explanation of, like, you talked about the terms and do you understand what's currently, like, there are a lot of people coming into Big Rapids not knowing anything. As me only being here since 2019, I had no clue.
Well, I think there's people that have lived here their whole life.
Right.
No, but it's a
The
good
charter's not a
point.
popular document.
No. And I know there's a lot of renters and there's a lot of, transient people, I call them, unfortunately, it's not a good name, but, with the college kids and people coming and going, but people who are here, who wanna stay, I think it gives a good base, at least, to know what you guys have been doing, what you wanna see changes, and especially voting now in November, I think that's a good, I don't know, I'm just,
No, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate that.
it's a great way to get input
You know.
with sticky notes, which is fast, it's interactive,
They give you
and
different colors, like for the
Yeah.
different boards, and I really enjoyed it. It was very relaxed. It was just, it wasn't pressured, like you didn't have to, it was just a very nice evening at the artworks downstairs. It was really nice. It got me to know what the artworks does too, like it was a whole combination package, so, yes, it was very nice.
yeah, I'm liking that idea.
For the term limits, can we gauge as a group who actually thinks we have some feedback, but it's very limited. Assuming we get no more feedback, which hopefully isn't the case, would we as a group want to separate those two terms and think that's worth doing?
I do.
I absolutely do.
Is there anyone that doesn't agree with that?
I don't understand why they're together, I guess. If I understood that, then maybe I would change my mind, but I don't know how they got lumped together.
So that's definitely something we want to address. How important is it to everyone that we change either the term limits, the quantity of term limits? Is that worth trying to figure out on our own if we don't get adequate feedback? I know I personally could go either way.
I could go either way.
I am less inclined to change the limits themselves and more inclined to create that delineation between the service and of commission and the service.
How do we delineate without changing the term limits? So, like, by delineating, don't you have to establish the new limits for the mayor?
No, not necessarily. I think you could just say that service previously provided as a member of the city commission is not counted toward term limits as mayor.
And what would the term limits as mayor be?
1 year.
Term,
One term, sorry.
that's 4 years.
That's what we currently, like, so you're saying you could serve for 1 term as mayor and for 3 terms as commissioner?
Well, I'm saying, yeah, whatever the current term limits are, just applied, but not in continuity into the mayor role from city commission.
So you would be able to serve for 3 terms as mayor?
That's not provided for now.
The commission,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you weren't on the commission gets 3 terms. So you're, like,
The
that's
commission
what I'm
gets three
saying.
terms, but the mayor does not. Mayor is already limited to a maximum of 2 terms.
You wanna take it down to 1 term?
No, what I'm
I'm not understanding you.
so the maximum a person can serve, at least that's my understanding is.
I just don't remember
My
things.
3
understand-
terms as a city commissioner, or 2 terms.
I don't think we don't distinguish those. 12 years. It's 3 4-year terms. And you can, so you can
Is
do,
it in any capacity? I thought it had, one of those had to be in city commission.
the mayor goes through. I just remember the scenario in particular. If you are a seated city commissioner and you're halfway through your term and you run for mayor and you are elected, you have to be able to serve, there has to be enough time for you to serve a full term. If there isn't enough time, that it doesn't work, because it still falls within that 12-year block.
Because that's what happened with Tom Hoganson,
Yeah,
is that he was a commissioner for so long and then he was mayor and we wanted him to be
Well,
mayor longer.
he was,
ideally.
yeah,
People got,
he had already been on the commission for 8 years.
Stacy's got it,
He
looks
was
like.
elected mayor, served 1 term and ran for another one because of that thing. No person shall serve as a member of the city commission more than 12 consecutive years.
That's a limitation to service on the commission, and right now the mayor is considered a seat on the city commission. So in theory, a person could be elected to mayor and serve 3 terms back to back just as mayor, but based on what the commission can do, not separate rules for the mayor. So I see your point then, that
Like
if you're gonna separate it out, then
You have to say how many terms the mayor can serve.
In which case, I would say 2.
That makes sense to me.
I don't
3
necessarily
and 2
support
makes sense to me.
having anything.
Like 3 years, the first 3 terms, the first term, you're learning. The second term,
Agree.
you're like established. The third term, you're a master. Now you go on to become the mayor. Again, you're learning. You are pretty much, you know what's going on. You do everything that you wanna do and your time is spent. Like, step aside, let somebody else serve. If you want, you can go back to the city commission if the elected, if the people want to vote you in as another commissioner again. You know, but I feel like most people who have served as mayor aren't gonna wanna go back to the role of commissioner because it's,
Back down?
Drunk with power by.
yeah, I mean, basically, like once you felt the full power, like going backward just feels like you're getting clingy.
Probably. feels
Well,
like
on
it's
the other
going-
hand, you know, the duties of the mayor take up a whole lot more time than what commissioners' duties do, generally speaking. But it's always contingent, you know, always remembering that people have to get elected. And it's one thing if we continue kind of on this path where people aren't being challenged during elections.
Yeah.
And that's why I wonder if there isn't a little bit of wisdom in the public survey responses that we have had. Maybe having a 2-year limit for commissioners encourages more turnover from commissioner roles into candidacies for mayor. And also maybe it works to it maybe works to address some of the concerns that people have had in the past of, oh, here's a person who served, you know, whatever the maximum was, 12 or whatever, and now it's becoming 18 or whatever, or 16 or whatever. You know, if the person completes maximum service in both capacities. So maybe that walks it back a little bit, says, no, you can do 8 and 8.
I mean, I hear where you're coming from, but since the commission is made up of 4 commissioners and the mayor, we need 4 commissioners, we only need 1 mayor. It doesn't seem like it makes that much sense to me to try to push people more toward the mayor position and term limit them out of the commission at 2, like, am I making any
You
sense?
can wait a year and run again, right?
Yeah, they can. But like, I mean, I don't know, I feel like time away doesn't usually make people more motivated. Sometimes, some
But
people,
that's the case you just made for the mayor, right? They can serve their maximum number of terms, wait a couple of years, and then run for that. Why is it more of a deterrent when it's a city commissioner?
I don't,
You were saying a person could in theory serve,
they could, but I don't think they're likely to.
oh, got you.
I'm saying just, they could, but I think that's unlikely, right? I think the most likely scenario is that somebody serves
Continuous.
2 to 3 terms as a commissioner and then decides that they want to do the mayor thing, right? And then they can do that for up to 2 terms. But like, once you've taken time off, I mean, it's not always true, like Lorraine James, right? Like, I'm pretty sure she was term limited out of her commission seat. She took time off and she wanted to serve on the commission again and she won that election. So, I mean, it does happen. But I think that's probably the exception to the rule, you know?
Erin, do you know of any other instances other than Lorraine where someone has served out their full term and then went
I
back?
don't, and off the top of my head, I don't, without going back and looking.
And I think it's probably safe to say that Lorraine is not going to serve another 2 terms and then take time off and then serve again.
Never know.
That would be, she would have a blessed lifespan, I think, to achieve that, but
Her husband would be very unhappy.
And let's not
He
forget.
would also have a blessed
Let's not
lifespan, I think.
forget
to
that
achieve
prior
that.
to doing her 12 years previously as a commissioner, she served as a city treasurer for, what, 25 years?
Yeah.
I mean, she has just been a consummate public servant for a goodly number of years.
I think she's probably holds some records now. I don't know if the city's keeping
should check with
track,
her.
but they should.
I think we should check with her. Okay,
But so, but
Yeah.
back to the point, like, I suspect that if you served 2 terms, right, and then you were term limited out of sitting on the commission, you have more commissioners that are fighting, like you said, to become the mayor, which is great for the position of mayor, right? Like, oh, now we have like 5 candidates running for mayor. But then you also have more seats that are flipping in the commission, and you have people that were termed out that can't serve any longer on the commission. I think to me, it still makes more sense to have more terms available as a commissioner and not to try to like kick people off of the commission to get them to run for mayor. If anything, it's like, I'd like to like almost do the opposite, is like, right? Like, you can only serve as mayor once, but you can serve as commissioner a bunch of times, just because we need more commissioners. But like, I think that, you know, you go back, you go to the far extreme on both sides, and then you go find the middle, and the middle is probably have already kind of floated as the 3 and 2.
The only thing I will say is the boogeyman that's hanging out there, and the thing that I'm hearing anecdotally from the people I do speak with about this is, in general, they do not like the idea of this yawning expansive service on somebody's part. People are uncomfortable with it just on principle. And so I would say if you're going to look at doing one measure that's going to potentially increase the term of service in some people's eyes, right, by adding the ability to serve another term as mayor, you might want to look at some kind of compromise that, you know, makes that more palatable to people just ideologically.
Yeah, so I mean, that I think brings us back to the issue of public input and also public education, right? Like, I think that maybe I'm just projecting too much, but my hunch is that when people have all of the facts laid out in front of them, the conclusions that we've came to are going to be fairly widely agreed to by the public. I could be completely wrong, but the question then becomes, are we serving the community better by trying to educate them to the point that they can make an informed decision and give us an informed feedback? Or is that sabotaging our efforts, right? Because we can't inform people enough, and the more people we do inform, the more that they are likely to talk about our reforms as bad, because they don't understand them well, right? Don't vote for the new charter because people are gonna serve forever. Well, like, that's contorting the facts, but if we don't,
But unfortunately,
can't
that's the
reach enough
way,
people.
that's the way right now society
People are
is
really
contorting the
programmed to
facts.
do that.
right, I mean, that's what I'm saying, so it's like, maybe we're better served just saying, we think that we're making the decision that people would make rationally, and we should not educate the public.
I can't get
I'm just floating, I'm just trying to put out as, like, let's consider what options we have here. Which path do we wanna go down, right? Because if we wanna go down the path of educating people, like you were saying, we need to have lots of activities that draw in a lot of people. We can't draw those people in, right? If we fail, but we draw in just enough that like, we shoot ourselves in the foot.
These terms seem lengthy, but you have to remember, they are also elected positions. I think we forget that if somebody's on for 4 years and you're unhappy with that person, don't vote for them, right?
Well,
well, that's
I
the
know,
argument
it's
against.
simplistic,
That's the
but-
argument against having term limits in the first place.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the very first comment that I got through our email, was that term limits are, or terms are limited naturally through the ballot box. Our counter argument to that is our difficulty getting people to run.
And to address the point you just made is, yeah, they're elected if they are running against someone else.
Right.
When somebody runs unopposed,
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about it like that.
then they're not really elected in the same way that you're talking about. It wasn't that the people chose them over someone else. They didn't have a choice.
I guess
Right.
it's hard, I think, too, when I look at even our current mayor, he's grown so much in the 4 years he's been here. It is a process, and even being a commissioner, you
It's a
learn
big learning curve.
and grow a lot over that first 4-year term. And then you think, I'd be ashamed not to have him come back, because
Ashamed to-
now they're like, yeah,
Not have,
Yeah.
not take the, just kind of like with the commissioners, right, not to take the value of all that accumulated knowledge and use it.
Especially
I don't wanna
like,
be here forever either, but
especially like hot off of
But again,
the term, because like I said, it's like if you take 2 terms off, it's like, yeah, you were caught up, you were in the swing of things, and then you lose all of that momentum
right.
in a year or two, right? Like people change jobs, different jobs get implemented, and it's like it's a whole new learning curve. And it's not that it can't be done,
Right.
but like the best time is like consecutively.
I'm, I guess, for a perspective that says we get as much input as we can, but then at the end of the day, make the decision that we think best serves continuity.
What if
all you can do.
instead we draft something that separates the terms and does maybe 3 terms and 2 terms for mayor? And then pitch that, rather than giving the questions, what do you think? Be like, here's our proposal, tell us what's wrong, what you want changed. And they might come back and say, no, it should be 2 and 2, or it should be something different. But giving them that actual framework rather than just asking questions without taking in all the nuance of the other questions.
Because that's, the answers that you get could be so much broader if, yeah.
Right. Whereas you give them something specific and then be like, well, I really dislike this one part of it, and if everyone's giving that same feedback, we know that needs to be adjusted. But it's also doing the education at the same time as trying to get input,
That's a really good
rather
idea.
than, because I feel like we're just like chasing our tail right now. And if we draft something that we're comfortable enough with, then we can start pitching that and like really focus our energy, rather than just like going around and around.
I mean, I'm absolutely for that. That's kind of what I was thinking in the first place. I was thinking about the next stage of, and how do we engage with people, right? Because the farmer's market isn't cutting it, right? Like, it's not that it's failing completely, but like, are we getting the feedback on this issue? Do we have the time to educate people at like individually at the farmer's market? What I'm hearing from Brian is that like, that's not happening. Right? So it's like, what activity are we gonna do and when are we gonna do it? And that's what I think what Ann was asking is like,
Well, I think
we need to do something.
the
like
idea,
now.
I can tell you from other groups that I'm working with, is food works. People like to be fed.
Yeah.
I like the idea, in fact, I'm thinking, we can actually enlist someone who's a little more adept at this to help us construct this. Something along the lines of what they did with the master plan. We can see if we can get the lower level of artworks. And have material on poster boards that give them an opportunity to interact with it, but not all over the place, a la what Stacy's recommending. And I think, and what would be nice if we could have people feel this informal, relaxed thing, let's have a conversation about this, how do you feel about this, what are your thoughts about this, while we're feeding them. And I suppose if you're gonna have like in the late afternoon, evening, this is, that's a good idea.
With ages too, let them know what the existing, what
Right, exactly.
currently, and then give them those, and then let them talk, and then let them go on the board, whatever all your topics would be, like, this is one, like, make your 4 or 5 or whatever your survey is about, like, those 5 topics or whatever, make it simple for them, because they don't wanna stay there for hours on end.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, how do you feel about that? If we move forward with that, we kind of check our budget, see what we have in the way for that kind of stuff. But I'm thinking, I don't know if there's a local consultant who, like, I think Lynn Shively used to do these with us, but someone that we might enlist to help us really structure this properly so that it's, enhance our opportunity for success. That we would need, our budget for, paying that person, the food. I don't know if Artworks is probably gonna charge us a fee, I'm thinking, for using the space, so we need to kind of budget that out.
Or, I mean, we don't have to have it at Artworks either.
What if
Like,
we could
we
do
can
it
have it in a
someplace
public
at, like,
park, we can have it
Glenn
here.
Park Where people's kids could play while they are.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm
Good
good, I
idea.
just meant that's where that was, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, it was just that's
Or,
what we
I
used.
think Mitchell Creek
That's a
Park is
good
a nice
idea.
place too, like there's ice cream nearby, like it's pretty,
Okay, well, we can play with
I
that.
mean, like
We
there's
can save some money.
venues.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that I'm involved with Senior Enrichment Day a little bit. Senior Enrichment Day, I'm involved with Senior Enrichment Day a little bit. It has kind of a similar format, like you get a little bit of information, there's a meal, et cetera. There might be somebody from that committee who's been a little bit more involved in like the direct, like logistical part of the planning. I'm thinking maybe Larissa Draves. And she was Larissa Draves, and she was one of
The Graves.
Graves, and she was one of the people that I was thinking of contacting as maybe an influencer anyway. So I could reach out and see if she knows of anybody who has supported them when they were initially making the plans for that event, stuff like
That
that.
would be great if you could do that. How do you spell her last name?
Draves,
Graves?
yes,
Lisa.
Larisa.
You're gonna reach out to her?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good.
And we think that we should have this event in August,
September.
Yeah.
okay? I'm just trying to like, let's say when we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Right.
After back to school. but
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Still decent.
Like, let's say second week maybe, second-ish. Okay. Yeah, let's see what we can put together for that. Sounds like a good plan. And I think that might actually net us some good feedback, one way or the other.
I mean, even if, not only feedback, I mean, potentially it's that, we're
getting to the point where we kinda need to start finalizing this.
and promoting, right? That like they're gonna go and, be the influencers that talk to the other people. Oh yeah, I went to this thing and I learned this and this, and we need to vote for this so that we can have a good mayor, or,
And we want, we want people to understand, because I know we've been saying we need public input, we need public input. We have to go to them and get that public input, and that's important for buy-in and time to vote.
What about Sunday when you just said the date? I won't be able to be here that second week, my son's getting married, I'm sorry, I'll be.
Congratulations.
Sorry, just looking at my calendar, I'm like, oh, I won't be able to go now. But maybe sending out something, maybe save the date to people or letting them know after you pick a date, like sending out a postcard and letting them know possibly.
What do you get, the newsletter?
Or something, save the date, might be fun, I don't know,
Absolutely.
So you could even run a little ad in the paper,
or something, you
cost
know.
very much
Yeah.
either.
and some flyers up around town, at least like in the signs that unlock, that I think we still have maybe.
Labor Day, September 1st, and then our meetings in September on the 8th or 10th. If we had it somewhere in between them 2 days, like if we want to do it on a weekend, do it on this Saturday, the 6th or something, so that we have that information before we come to the next meeting, and then we can start.
Or for the October meeting, like, the end of September.
Jim says, we gotta start getting some stuff done.
No, I mean, I agree, we need to,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I said August, but I'm just,
People aren't back in August.
and I don't know that people are back on the 6th of September either. I don't know what Ferris's schedule is like.
Yeah, but you start getting the young people back, all their vacations are done, the kids are gonna be going back to school towards that end. And right now, we need to get some of the younger people.
My only consideration on this is we're looking then at having one more meeting before we're prepared to go with this event. And I think it'd be pretty difficult to get all the planning and other activities that are necessary to execute that event effectively done with only one more meeting with this group, unless we want to appoint a subcommittee, somebody to
carry it forward.
And carry forward whatever we discuss in our August meeting.
I think that we should form a subcommittee. At least, maybe in addition to having 2 meetings. It sounds like you're already kind of taking on some of the responsibilities.
No. I am happy to provide support, but I also have this influencer communications plan. I think this is an all hands on deck kind of thing, and I think what we might want is a subcommittee, but a subcommittee of a few of our members who are prepared to get hands on with this activity, because it's gonna be somewhat.
I think what we need to do, and maybe you and I can sit down and do this, before any of that, we need to map this out. What needs to happen, and who needs to be doing it, or who we need to be reaching out to. There's a lot of moving pieces here, I'm getting the sense. So maybe if we can sit down, you and I sometime,
I would be happy to.
let's really map it out so that we can see clearly what we're talking about, what we need, what our budget is looking like, you know, and so on and so
Maybe
forth.
between now and the next meeting, we could flesh out sort of an outline of the event
Yeah.
structure, timeline,
Yep.
targeted, like goals.
Targeted audience,
Right,
goal.
and then, come back and discuss that at the meeting and kind of have a tentative plan of how to execute on it and be prepared to engage different members for what we need.
That sounds like a subcommittee.
Get a consultant or something too?
If we need, I'm not sure we can.
Let's see how we're feeling after we,
Yeah,
because I have like a bunch of disparate pieces flying around in my head right now. So we will flesh out an outline. I assume our budget got approved when they did the
Yes.
budget? Because I don't remember hearing anything about it. So we're good with the budget that we now have. Okay,
did we, I think we had put most of the money that we requested for that kind of activity, we had put in to next year. Do we have enough remaining in this year if we want to allocate some to?
well, we're already in the next year.
That's right,
July
yeah.
1st, so we're in the next fiscal year. So we're good. Okay. Sounds good.
It's exciting. Sounds like fun.
No, I think it's exciting.
Yeah, it takes work.
Well, of
No, it
course it
does.
does,
But
but
it's, you know, if we're serious about getting public input, this is what we need to do.
I think that like the alternative to the subcommittee would be that we could just have more meetings.
There is that.
But
We can do
Yeah, we
that.
could have an extra meeting. I would be fine with that too, because I think we need as many people engaged as possible.
we might need both. But it sounds like, you two are forming a subcommittee.
We'll make a plan, but I
We'll
think
make a
maybe
plan,
have
then we'll determine who the
have an
subcommittee.
extra,
Okay.
well, let's have an extra meeting of this entire group where we share that plan and then even if it's
We may need
brief,
to be actually scheduling extra meetings, like 2 meetings a month. For, depending on how we're progressing.
even if it's brief or on
Yeah.
a day other than normal, I think. To quick get it in if we want to execute on the time frame that they're talking.
Okay. So you and I will get together.
Yes.
We will go from there. All right.
If you want to come hang out with me at the farmer's market and I'm not getting any bites, that might be
can
something
do that.
we could cover off on two birds
When
with
are you up?
Saturday.
This Saturday? What's the
So if
Saturday?
I'm at loose ends, that makes good use of time. Being that it's so hard to
In
say.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that. What time are you gonna be at the farmer's market?
The whole shot, and I think it starts at what, 9, goes till,
I believe.
The Saturday ones?
Saturday's 9 to 1.
9 to 1.
You go the whole time?
It's too.
I was there last night.
I know, me too.
Yeah. We got out before your troublemaker showed up.
I know, barely though.
Okay, I can do that. Gonna kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Then if I don't know the answer to something and somebody asks,
Yes, I am the foster.
This was all part of your
This is all
plan.
my grand plan.
That sounds like you're killing three
Falling
birds
into
with
my
one
trap.
stone.
I am the
These people
foster.
killing birds.
Okay. All right, moving on, new business. I just had a question about section 4.4. I could not remember. We had talked about changing the time frame for filling vacancies from 45 to 90 days, and I seem to recall one of our legal people telling us that that
Yes.
I
was
think that was Ron.
not viable.
I think it was
Is
Ms.
that- Do I remember this correctly?
No, you can't.
Yeah, we can't.
It's set by statute.
That's set by statute.
And we'll catch that once we go through all of the proposed changes.
Okay. I guess I would like to propose, let's see, where is that? Okay, so no, we are not changing that to 90 days. Yeah, good, okay. For our next meeting, listen, we have determined our next items to revisit, and I have on here the changes from Mr. Reddick, kind of coinciding with Stacy's list. So we can start going through his recommended changes that he sent to everybody. You should all have that document, yes?
Yeah.
I don't get emails from Ron.
I thought, didn't I send it out to you to send to everybody?
I don't know, did I? send it?
I got it, so I have to have gotten it
I
somewhere.
don't remember. I'm sorry.
What the
If
hell?
you can't find it, let
I
me
know, my brain is really full sometimes and I apologize.
What did you have for lunch 3 months ago today, Keith?
I have to stop and think what I had today. Well, no, I'm kidding.
Um,
Yes, then I do have it.
That's why you just
Okay.
never eat lunch.
Very good. So we will work on that. By our next meeting, we should have back from him this feedback on the purchasing document. So we should have plenty to be looking at and really start to get this thing going in shape. Really, correct me if I'm wrong. Term limits is the big thing that we're really haggling about, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think there is,
Purchasing and term limits,
Purchasing and the term
and
limits.
whether or not we're gonna have people from outside of town on boards, but
Yeah.
that may actually be
I'm
an issue.
thinking kicking
maybe
that
a
idea to
hotter
the
issue
curb.
than,
Boards?
Yeah,
there, people are really, the people who are not for that are really not
That's
for
what I'm feeling. I think we should kick that idea to the curb and.
that was what I got from my Facebook post, like, it had the three big issues, and the only one anybody commented on was that, and they were like,
Hot.
no.
It depends on who you ask. Some people are actually for it, and I think those maybe are people who live adjacent and want to serve.
If you talk to somebody and you ask them, should people from outside of town be allowed on boards, they say no, and then they say, should Carleen Rose be allowed on a board? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Arlene
She lives in town.
or,
she does.
She lives in town.
Ives.
But
Is she there? She was at the farm.
She has her farm, but she lives right near me.
Yeah, she lives in town. They have the farm, they go out there all the time, but yeah,
She was out of town.
no,
No.
Okay.
no, she was.
she's like the block in front of the hospital, I think.
you also ask them, it's like, well, should we, have less seats on each board because they're not full? How should we fill the boards? Like, will you serve on the board? No. It's like, well,
What do you think about Brian's suggestion? Should we drop it?
I think we should drop it.
Board question?
the only reason I would think that we would keep it would be to try to drive people
Does
to
it
our
keep
event,
people meaningfully engaged?
right? It's like, if it brings
So that
people,
could be part of our
I mean, that's part of our
Engagement.
shtick, yeah.
engagement party.
I think the conversely, the risk is that
Like that.
people don't show up to our event,
We're engaged.
don't know that we kicked it to the curb after the event, and then vote
Well, but
no.
that's, see, that's
on-
where you work with, that's where
Right.
you work with your media, and if we're dispatching with the idea, then we, do a little piece in the paper or something about it that acknowledges and word gets around. I think that's workable still.
I don't know.
I don't know, like, I'm always skeptical of people remembering things correctly because I don't remember things correctly, and so people, they read the article, but what they take away from it, what they remember is that we were thinking about doing it, and then they go with their gut, so the more you talk about it, the more they hear what they don't wanna hear. right?
Makes sense.
But like, so it's like, it's a double-edged sword. So on the one hand, if it drives people to our event and gets people better informed, then it's a good thing. On the other hand, if they aren't paying attention and they don't remember things well, then it could end up being that it backfires in the long run because they don't know how we came down on it and they sit in the election booth and vote no
Yeah.
because they're afraid of something that they didn't pay attention to.
Yeah.
So it,
That's your point.
I'm just, like, I'm always seeing both sides. And we just have to make the decision, it's a gamble, right? Like, we get less people at our event because we don't rile them up. But, does it end up helping us?
Okay. Any other public comment?
Public comment. We finally have public. How
So I
exciting.
think you guys are doing a great job. I think getting the public knowing, like, you know, myself just reading the newsletter and saying, oh, I've never been to this meeting. This is what this is about. It's hard because a lot of city meetings, you know, commission meetings on Monday, there's only like maybe 5 of us. I mean, Karen can attest like how many people, it depends what the topic is. If it's a hot topic, people show up. Or things like that, just in general. And I think getting the, I think getting the word out there in regards to the term limits and stuff like that is gonna be helpful because you have a very diverse clientele here in City of Big Rapids. And I don't think, like you said, I don't think they understand that when that's like voting. I think they're voting for the person, necessarily why are they voting for that term limit? I don't think they understand that. I think getting it out there on however, you know, you do a picnic or however, you know, we do that, they need to know, I think very helpful to you guys. What is current, this is what we're thinking of proposing, what do you think?
And what would be the biggest, outside of, like, actual issues at hand? What would draw you to an event that was an educational, feedback event? Like, specific kind of food, specific location? Like, what, is there any hook that you personally feel like would be a big draw?
I think it'd be able to voice their opinion, I think before we necessarily go like saying, we want your opinion, we're gonna have this, you know, like kind of coffee with the cops kind of thing, like just very nonchalant, but this is going to affect the city, I mean, for long term, you know, and I think they need to, who they're voting for coming in November, I think is, maybe, I don't know if you can do this, if some of the potential people could be there, I don't know if that's allowed or not, like to, hey, I would like to serve again, but I can't, like, I don't know if that's allowed.
That we can't.
Okay, right, yeah, I don't know what the rule is, I'm just saying, just, you know, something that, if you like this person, if you like the terms you have now, then you will vote on them, if you don't want it, then we're gonna change it, and that'll be also on the ballot, so I think getting it out there, I don't think people know, personally. I didn't know till I started reading it, but I'm only one person out of 5,000 who live here, or whatever the number is, you know, so. Like, I have 2 neighbors, I have new people that the person passed away next to me, so I have new people next to me. And then I have the other side of me in Fremont, and that person, he moved to Ludington, so I'm gonna have another new person next to me. So I mean, and then the bakery's for sale, they're moving out, so it's like I have new people all around me coming in. So I'm just trying to understand it myself, more or less. So that's 3 new people that don't have a clue probably what's going on in the government of Big Rapids. So it'd be like some balloons, some just, you know, just marketing, just have a big have a party kind of thing, you know?
Yep, see,
Won't be
this
your
is the,
funny idea.
this is the problem, I tell people all the time, I mean, you know, people love beer,
They want
but
to
we're
be
not allowed to give
entertained.
away beer.
No.
I don't think beer would necessarily be like, I don't think it should be that kind of thing, just a party in the, you know, in regards to your voting, your ability to vote in November, this is what we're doing and this is what we're proposing.
Refreshments in a place where childcare is not a pressure.
The other part of this, which is involved with all of what we're talking about, is people are disconnected from city government. And when they feel disconnected, they're less apt to want to participate. We always struggle with voting. Usually we have 7,700, 8,000 people. We're like, 5,000 are the ones that usually vote, of registered voters.
That's actually a pretty good percentage.
Well,
Depends on the
there are
election.
5,000 registered voters. Of that, our average for municipal elections is somewhere between 12 and 14%.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
really? We had 5,000 people vote?
There are 5,000
Oh,
registered
okay.
voters out of a population of
Even after?
roughly 8,000.
that?
No, that was, I don't know if the statistics are the same, that's what it was the last time.
I mean, cause
But-
Michigan
but this
passed
is-
that law that when you get your license renewed, you're automatically registered to vote. Right?
Yes.
So I would think that anyone who drives in Big Rapids would be registered.
Well, they may be, but they don't necessarily show up.
Yeah, they don't necessarily.
I remember when I canvassed, when I ran, and just, people just saying, I don't bother to vote.
I think
And
part of
then
that,
slam the door in my face.
part of the I don't bother to vote is that like everybody loves the classic, well, they should just, why don't they,
They,
right?
They
The
don't
they,
They don't come to
right?
meetings.
But the thing is like they wanna be able to say that because if they don't vote, then they didn't, it's not their fault. Things are the way they are, right? And so they can complain, but once they actually know what's going on,
This is a-
exactly.
This is a nationwide problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
don't
that's
solve it here in Big Rapids, but all of that to
So-
say,
Yes.
an opportunity to personalize city government and to help people understand that, yes, when we say we're interested in your input, we are genuinely interested in your input. The thing about governing that you learn when you are in government,
And I think they did,
Is that-
like I said, with the master plan, they had a lot of input. I mean, it was a really, I had a really nice, I was very relaxed. Like I said, I had a great time going for the first time. So,
the problem when you ask people their opinion is that they expect you to follow it.
yeah.
And you can't always follow it. But
Maybe another issue that would draw people to the event that might be safer than the board would be the dog mayor.
should we elect a dog? Whose dog? Whose dog are we gonna
are
elect?
you able to go to Ferris's Founder Day and have a table or no? Okay.
Well, we think we are, yeah. We could probably put a table up there.
Because you get a lot of people go through there, they have the free lunch going on. They have a lot of people
Yeah.
who go.
Well, I was told there as well by a student from NSU who understands these things, that you still have to have things to give away.
Yes. No, I know, yeah, you
Giving them
do.
food- Giving them
Yes.
food or
Yes.
goodies or some such thing is
Yes.
an important hook.
People like freebies.
Yeah.
They like freebies and they wanna be entertained, so.
When is your next meeting, may I ask?
Our next meeting is August 13th.
Okay.
Well, we might have one sooner than that, no? You're talking about,
We're going to collaborate, work out the outline
I was thinking more like we would need one between the next meeting in August
and then the September.
for the September event,
okay, so we're gonna have 2 meetings in August maybe,
actually, yeah.
Or
or 3 meetings in
Um,
August.
unless we're willing to go longer. But anyway, we're gonna probably be needing to put some extra time in. Is that right? Okay, is there anything else for the good of the order?
This is not on this topic, but next week is and I believe it's Wednesday afternoon from 4 to 6, is the ribbon cutting for the skate park.
Yeah.
And there'll be food trucks and everything, so, yeah, or a food truck anyway. I know, me too. So, yeah, and if you haven't driven down to Hemlock Park or been down there, you gotta go.
Oh, you
on
have to
hot
go.
days.
So,
It's so fun to watch everybody down there.
what are the odds we can get Fred Gunther on like a scooter or a
Probably
skateboard?
very slim.
I think it's a little less than that.
Yeah, I
Slim to none.
yeah.
What about one of those Segway things with no stick, like the hover?
Oh, those are really
The
hard to
things that are
ride.
in
I would
all of
take
the
a,
fail army videos.
yeah, oh my gosh.
Are we
Let
adjourned?
me officially adjourn the meeting.
Have you guys seen the people that do roller skates on like skateboard half pipes and stuff?